Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Ken and I'm on a journey to lose as much weight as I possibly can so I could become a fat guy no more. Whoa. All right. Well, I got a lot of things I want to talk about this week, but before I jump into everything, you know what I'm about ready to say. I want to say thank you. Thank you to every one of you that comes by and watches these videos. I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate those comments that you guys drop down below. There have been some amazing ones lately. Thank you so much for that. Not just for commenting, but the things that you're saying. And it never seems to just not blow my mind that I have some amazing people that watch these videos that are there to make sure I stay motivated and that I keep going. To think that I started these videos just for myself, just so I could try to have a little bit of accountability and what it's grown into now. So I thank you guys so much for coming by each and every week that you do, and for watching it, and for dropping those comments below, and most of all for the motivation that I need, because there are some weeks, like a couple weeks ago, you saw it, the video that said I was struggling. Yeah, thanks to you guys, I've been able to sort of get back on track, I think. We'll talk about all that later, but just, you know, I know it sounds cliche, and I've probably said it before, but thank you. Thank you very much. So as of the recording of this video, it is April 19th, 2025. April 19th has a few meanings here that I want to talk about. First and foremost, tomorrow starts the playoffs. That's right, my Oklahoma City Thunder back in the playoffs, #1 seed in the entire NBA, especially out of the West. That is amazing, especially for this young team. 2 years in a row. They ended up being the best team in the West, so that's great. Of course, I like to say none of that matters unless you win that final game and get that ring, right? So hopefully they can do it. First up, Memphis Grizzlies. Really excited. Don't have any plans to go to any of the games. Those tickets cost way too much, and I've got too many other things that I want to be doing to spend that kind of money. So I'll be watching it at home on TV with my wife, and so that's, you know, that's a great consolation prize. I absolutely love watching games with her, especially because she really gets into the basketball, so that'll be fun. I can't wait to do that. The second thing that April 19th signifies is that 1 week from today, 1 week from this morning as of the recording of this video, is the 5K. Yeah, you guys heard me talk about it for months now. Months. And it's finally almost upon us. I am, nervous. Quite nervous. I didn't ever get out and walk anything close to a 3-mile mark, so that will be my all-time record. Well, actually, my record, as we saw in last week's video, was 1.94. That walk that I did with my bestie Angie last week, or couple weeks before, but it was on last week's video, right? Anything over that is going to be a record for me. So essentially, from the starting line, just before we get to the second overpass, will be where I hit my record mark, because by that second overpass is right at the 2-mile mark. So from there on in, every step I take will be a new personal best, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really, really hopeful that the weather holds out, because the weather forecast has been all over the place. I mean, absolutely all over the place. One moment they were showing, you know, drizzle starting at 7 a.m. Yes, the 5K starts at 7 a.m. So of course it did, right? I mean, dry throughout the early morning hours. Boom, 7 o'clock, right up to drizzle. And then rain. Next day it was saying rain. I've seen it say completely dry and be gorgeous, and I've seen it say thunderstorms. Well, that's just Oklahoma weather for you. I don't know why I keep checking it. Maybe because I keep hoping that it'll give me some good news. Because yes, I know a lot of people say it shouldn't matter if it's raining or not, but with my feet and ankles and stuff, I can't take the chance of slipping. So please don't take it as if I'm trying to talk myself out of it. I'm just literally trying to be a realist and realize that if it's wet, I'm gonna have to go slower than I usually do, and that's just it. I mean, I'm slow as it is, but at the pace that I do go at, I feel like I'm not really pushing myself, but I'm striding, I'm doing good. But I know that if the pavement's wet, I'm gonna have to go even slower. And that kind of, you know, bugs me up here, because I'm already realizing that I will probably be the last one to finish. And I'm perfectly fine with that, really. I mean, that takes an ego hit, because I've never really come in last in pretty much anything. I mean, I've always been middle of the road. Don't usually come in first, but don't come in last. I'm just somewhere in between, right? I mean, that's how it's always been. I mean, I remember back in high school when a friend of mine talked me into joining our rifle team. You know, we did competition style 22 long rifles and shoots rifles. Oh, I sucked. I sucked bad at that, but I was never the worst. Even in the state competitions that I went to, I was never the worst. I just wasn't any good at it. I have to get out of my mind that it's the worst if I come in last, right? I'm not out there to compete against all these other people. I'm simply out there to show myself that I can do it. And finishing it, just simply finishing it, is victory enough. So I don't know. It's a mental thing. And I think that I honestly keep telling myself, once you've done it once and you know what to expect the following year, all of these little anxieties that I've been having are going to go away and things will be much better. Then that also tells me that I'm planning on doing it next year. I guess I kind of am. As long as Angie and everybody wants to do it again next year, I don't see why we couldn't or shouldn't. But then again, 1 week from today, it might be an absolutely horrible experience and I'll be eating those words, or it will be such an amazing feeling that I can't wait for next April. So either way, that's 1 week from today for that 5K. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited, nervous, ready to puke. All of the above, honestly. I really am. But we'll get there. We'll get there and we'll get it done. And we're going to have a lot of fun. I know we will. And I'm looking forward to that. But there's a few things coming up with it. Like this next coming Friday will be the expo. That's where we'll go get our bibs, right? The ones that we'll wear. I do have somewhere over here, I have some different, to hold the, what do they call these things? They're bib boards, basically, to hold on, to clip onto your bibs. Like this one says, shut up, I'm not almost there. Yeah, that's just perfect for me. So there's a few other ones. I'll show you those at another time. But I don't know, just something humorous to keep me going during that day, to have with me, to hold my bib on me. And I've got those for Angie and I to wear. So I don't know. I just don't know what to expect. And I think that's a big part of what I'm going through right now. But 1 week from today, 1 week from this moment right now, because as of the recording of this, it is currently 12:53. So it will be long over at this point. So yeah, that's kind of weird. As much as the anticipation, and then I'm wanting it over so I could see how it went. But then again, I've kind of enjoyed looking forward to it as well. So it's like, but that's 1 week from today. So then if the rest of you maybe know what the third item is for April 19th, here in Oklahoma City, 30 years ago today, as of the recording of this video, 30 years ago, April 19th, 1995, is when Timothy McVeigh drove his rented Ryder truck up in front of the Alfred P. Murrah building in downtown Oklahoma City and then ran away like a coward. Yeah, I have no problem saying that because that's exactly what he did. And it exploded, resulting in 168 people who died, 163 of them that were in the federal building there, and 5 people that were just on the street outside that area that also died. It is one of those days here in town that it's kind of odd. It's almost they call it a remembrance day, right? They had a remembrance ceremony. I'd mentioned before that I was hoping to get to go to it, but if I would have called out to be able to go to it, I would have lost my holiday pay for Easter. And so it was just like, I can't really afford to do that. I couldn't get the day off as a vacation day because people were taking it, to double up with Easter. So yeah, I didn't get to go, and I'm really kind of bummed about that because former President Bill Clinton was in town to speak since he was president on the day that it happened. And I really wanted to see that. It has been broadcast, so I know I can go watch it on YouTube. So that's what I'll do. But I still really wish I could have been there. But it's called a remembrance ceremony, and it's almost partial celebration, celebrating the lives of those people, remembering every one of them that was lost. And it's a very strange day here in town. I was thinking about this the other day, and that is that if it wasn't for Timothy McVeigh, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about doing the Oklahoma City Bombing Memorial 5K. It's not called the Bombing Memorial. It's just the Oklahoma City Memorial 5K. But it's because of the Bombing Memorial, because of the bombing, because of what Timothy McVeigh did. We wouldn't have those 168 people to remember. So it is such a weird thing, honestly. And it's quite emotional for me, honestly, because I remember exactly where I was that day. I was still living with my mom out in Tumwater, Washington on the south side of Olympia. And she came in screaming, they're bombing in Oklahoma City. Now, I was asleep because it was early morning out there. It happened at 9:02 Central Time, so it was 7:02 Pacific Time. And I remember trying to wake up And all I could think of is that they were, flying overhead and dropping bombs into Oklahoma City, and I couldn't figure out why. Ran out front, threw my glasses on as I was headed out there, and we started watching the news, and then we realized that it was a bomb that was actually exploded. And we learned pretty much as everybody did as it went through. And by pure coincidence, 27 years later, we moved here to town, and here I sit now on the 30th anniversary of that event. And I went ahead yesterday and I went down to the memorial and I walked around for just a little over 2 hours. I took my camera with me, so I want to show you guys a little bit of that. The memorial itself is such a beautiful place, honestly, right there in the middle of downtown Oklahoma City. And to think about the pure evil that took place right there 30 years ago today, it's unreal to call it a beautiful place, but it really is. So I went and walked around, and for my first time ever, I went into the museum. I've never done that before. They didn't really allow you to do video, but I took a lot of pictures. And so between walking around outside and then inside, I put together a little video here. Call it a walking with Ken if you want, but let me show you that. On today's walk, I'm going to go down around the Oklahoma City Bombing Memorial in downtown Oklahoma City. So I want to show you around and we can check it out. If you've ever been there, you probably recognize a lot of this, but if you haven't, let's start from the beginning. That big building sticking up right there is the Regency Tower. Why would I be showing you that if I wanted to talk about the memorial? Well, because right out in front of that is where they saw, via their security cameras, Timothy McVeigh park his Ryder truck. That's where he lit the fuse before he, right here, and drove right up 5th Street, right to where on that day stood the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Back then, 5th Street continued on, and the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building stood where those darker green trees are there, right? So he was able to drive right up in front of it, and that's where he parked his Ryder truck, and that's where he got out and took off running. And we'll show that exact area here in a moment. But this is what it looks like now, 30 years later on the outside. So let's go ahead and head on inside. When you come through the gates and you walk up the ramp, the first thing you really spot is the reflecting pool right here on 5th Avenue. Again, this used to be opened, but from that day on, they closed it off. Over here now, as I'm headed towards it, you can see the grass there. That is the footprint of the old Murrah building. We'll talk about that more here in a little bit. But this is a very interesting setup, how they've done these things. And they actually have, since it is a national park here, they do have rangers that come out here and answer questions, as you can see over there. And from time to time, you can catch them talking and telling stories. So let's listen in.
In 1995, when they were doing search and rescue at Ground Zero, they had cut it off basically with the chain link fence that sits down there to enclose this area for that investigation, search and rescue. But in 1997, they officially closed off this section with the 2 gates of time, officially enclosing the grounds that you see it. Yeah. Those are the minute before and the minute after the explosion goes off. 9:01, the minute before, we refer to it as the minute before innocence is taken. 9:03 is the first minute after. We refer to it as the first minute of the healing process. Not only are they gateways for people who come onto the grounds to prepare themselves for this place of remembrance, they act as bookends for the reflection pool that sits between the 2 gates. It represents 9:02, that time that we reflect back on and is now forever frozen between 9:01 and 9:05.
Each one of these chairs here represents one of the 168 people that were murdered that day. And if you really look close, and we'll probably see them a little bit better later, you can actually see that some of them are much smaller than others. The smaller ones represent the ones for the children that were lost, the 22 that were killed in the bombing. When you come across those chairs and you see a smaller one, I don't know, it just hits a little bit different than one of the bigger chairs because completely innocent. Then again, all of these people were, right? This was something that Timothy McVeigh did. And man, I don't know. But I'm very grateful that they also have the people's names on these chairs, as you can see there. And that box down below at night, those light up. But I like to just come through and just read their names, just to say their names out loud, just as a way to maybe that they're not forgotten. If somebody can hear me say their name, that just makes it known that they were here and that their memory lives on. I don't know, maybe that seems silly, but that's just the way I am. So each and every time that I come down to the memorial, I'll spend time walking through the rows here and just picking out random ones and then just saying their names out loud, because that's just what's deserved. I mean, these people like Peggy Clark here, she was just simply there working. That's all she was doing. She was trying to make a living for her and her family, and she was senselessly murdered. So this right behind me, right back here, is the south wall of the Alfred P. Murrah building. It still stands, but everything from here in front is where complete and total devastation was. It is still surreal to be down here, no matter how many times I come, to know exactly what happened right out here in front of me that day. I don't know, I always have a hard time putting it into words, honestly, but as you can see, all the way down to Harvey Street down there where we walked in at, you can see how they've got that wall still standing, just to show you basically the footprint of what was once here. And these trees out in front of me here, they actually line the exact footprint as well, as you can see all the way down, though this path in the back wall is definitely here to remind us of just that. So this area right here used to be the parking lot, and this tree right here, an American elm, it actually survived that blast. Yeah, it is known as the survivor tree, and it is a pretty popular meeting spot for people when they come down here, those that lost loved ones in the blast, as well as anybody that really wants to just come down, spend some time and pray. I'll go up there later and take a closer look at it, but right now we're just going to walk around a little bit and just take it all in. I'm not going to show you a whole lot from inside the museum because this is honestly something that you really need to come here and see for yourself. Of course, if you do, let me know. I'd love to meet you down there and go through it again. But as it says here, it starts off a day like any other. Yeah, it's got a really good way that you can walk through this and see stuff like this. That's the security camera that caught Timothy McVeigh in his Ryder truck. Right here, if you look close, you'll see it at the top of that photo outside the Regency Tower that I showed earlier. Yeah, there is so much in this museum that it is almost overwhelming, to be honest. I honestly don't think it would have crossed my mind to keep stuff like that clock that stopped at 9:02, the moment of the bombing, or any of these things really to have to preserve for future generations to see. I just don't know why anybody would have thought to do that, but I am very thankful that they did because now they're on display for us to be able to see. Like this right here, that's the actual sign from the hotel Timothy McVeigh stayed at in Kansas. That's the shirt he was wearing at the time that he was arrested. I mean, they even have his driver's license, right? That showed his birthday was just a few days after the bombing. And there's the gun and knife that he had on him when he was arrested, driving that exact car. Yes, they have the full-size car in there. Unreal. So much stuff to see. And then there's that view right there. But let's head back outside and check out the survivor tree. This elm tree is absolutely amazing. I kind of touched on it a little bit ago, how it survived the blast. Nobody knows how. Nobody absolutely knows how, but it was able to. And not only did it survive, it is absolutely thriving. I mean, it's something else, the story about this tree alone. And the interesting thing about it is they will sell you seeds so you can plant your own if you want. And people from all over the world have, from that tree right there in Oklahoma City as it sits right by the memorial. So that museum to me is very interesting because I know it's meant to remember the 168 that were lost so nobody forgets exactly what happened there that day. But it has Timothy McVeigh all over the place, right? I mean, they've got his face plastered in so many places and his name is just all over the place that it often makes me wonder if they're almost not glorifying what he did. Well, this kind of again goes back to what I was saying before that clip, and that is that without him doing what he did, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about doing that 5K. And there's a lot of things we wouldn't remember, but it's like, so where is the line between glorifying what he did and trying to pin him as the evil one that did what he did, you know, the murder that he created? It's such a fine line, I suppose, because there are people like myself that are news junkies that kind of, I don't know, I don't really want to say get a thrill out of, but maybe that's the wording that I should use, get a thrill out of seeing these things. So as you saw in those photos, the car that he had for his getaway is in that museum, the full car right? The key from the Ryder truck, the gun and the knife that he had on him that day, the t-shirt he was wearing. They even had the sign from the hotel that he was staying at up in Kansas and the door from room 25 that he stayed in up there at the Dreamland. Why would they want, I don't know. It just seems silly, other than it is part of that overall story, but it also, I don't know, it also makes him seem human. And I really don't think that Timothy McVeigh was human, because I don't think any human in their right mind could do what he did that day. And I know I don't usually get too political on this channel, and I apologize if I've offended anybody by saying that. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've had friends and family here in town that were here back when that happened. Maybe it's because I've met friends and family of people who lost their lives in that bombing. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's that I try to see the good in everybody, and I just can't imagine there was any good in that man to do what he did. I don't know. But either way, I'm glad that I got to go down there and check that out. And again, I mentioned it's the first time I've ever done the museum itself. I don't know why. Maybe because, back in the day, I didn't feel like I could walk it. And I will be honest, I was hurting pretty good by the time I got done down there yesterday. I was hurting pretty dang good. And a big part of that is not just the walking, it's the standing. So as you go through a museum, stand, you read the different things, you move on, you stand, you read. There were places to sit down, and I did, 4 or 5 times when they'd have like video clips rolling, right? So I would sit down for a little bit, but there was a lot of time that was just standing on your feet and just kind of moving around a little bit. But overall, I was very excited I could do it, and that's another one of those non-scale victories that, again, I've never done it before, and the big reason is I don't feel like I could. I mean, it's only $18, right? At least now it's 18. I don't know how much it's been through the years. However, full disclosure, part of our package for signing up for the Oklahoma Memorial Marathon, or 5K as it is, includes free admission to the museum. So it was actually free for me. So that was kind of cool. I did buy me a bottle of water on the way out and a magnet for our fridge with the museum's logo on it there that says 30th, right, with the museum's logo on it. That was, I always feel like, I don't know, anytime I go to a place like that, I feel like I should buy something because it helps keep the place going, So that's what I did yesterday. And then I walked out and I stood up by the survivor tree there that you saw in the video, and I just people watched. I just watched people walking around. There were a lot of family members that were coming and putting flowers on the chairs of their loved ones. I mean, that's something that they do over these days, and I'm pretty sure that every one of them down there now, as of last night or early this morning at least, has something on it. And it's a somber event watching a family walk in like that and then just stand there knowing that that was a loved one that they lost. And one of the stories that I've heard recently that really got to me, that really kind of hit me here, was of a guy named Alan Witcher. Alan was a Secret Service agent. He actually worked in Washington, D.C. for both President Bush, first President Bush, Sr., and then he worked for Bill Clinton as well. And then in June of 1994, he decided to move his family to a peaceful place, a quiet place called Oklahoma City, so he could actually spend the last years of his life working, but being able to do stuff with his family, with his kids. And so he worked at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, and he was one of the ones who lost their life there on April 19th, 1995. And man, I'll tell you what really hit me hard about that was the fact that he moved not only to Oklahoma City, but specifically to Edmond, Oklahoma, to try to live a peaceful life in his as he got older. Of course, my wife and I don't have kids. We have dogs, right? Well, now we're down to one, but we had dogs when we moved here. And that's kind of what our thing was, to come here and just be able to do more and be able to just, I mean, you get to that age, you start thinking about those years, right? We're getting up there. And it's one of those things that he did that same exact thing by coming here. And 10 months later, he was murdered in that bombing. And that, I don't know, that really got me. And to find out that his family is going to be coming back again, some of them will be running the marathon, some will do a quarter marathon, 10K, 5K. That's just, I don't know, for some reason that one just hit me. And if that name sounds familiar to you, maybe you've heard it, but in that video clip I showed his name on the wall, because the museum is actually 2 stories, and when you come down the elevator, as you come out, there's a wall there with a bunch of names engraved in it, and for some reason it was his name that my eyes went right to when I stepped off that elevator. Yeah, that one got me. And of course, I also have seen interviews from former President Clinton talking about where he was when he found out that his former Secret Service agent that worked directly with him on his detail was killed in that bombing. Quite the somber day here in town, that's for sure. Next week, like we said, we will remember all of those, between the 5K and the 10K and the senior marathon, I think it is, on Saturday, and then the quarter marathon, half marathon, and marathon on Sunday. Looking forward to what I'll be doing. Like you know it very well, my first ever 5K, and just to be a part of that. Very much looking forward to that. All right, now that I've brought everybody down, let's take a look at this week's numbers. As always, I got my phone here with me so I can read it. And it tells me that for this week, I had 1,568 calories on average per day. Yeah, this was an interesting week. I'm going to show you a little bit more detail of the numbers coming up here for especially one specific day. Yeah, I don't know. There were some high calorie things that I ate that, yeah, I'm glad I did, honestly. But it was really weird to see that number is where it came out at. Again, forcing myself to have some extra protein shakes, stuff like that. So we'll see here in a moment what it did for me. Diving into the rest of the numbers, we could see that I averaged 130 grams of protein per day. Yeah, I'll take it. My fiber was only at 23 grams per day. Again, that's way low from what I like. You know, I've talked about it many times before, but no beans again. Just like the previous week, I didn't eat a whole lot of beans. I had a couple cans where I had, like the chili beans from Walmart, the no salt added chili beans. But to hit my fiber mark, I'm going to need to have that daily, and I just haven't got back to that yet. My potassium was 6,695 per day. Yeah, that's good. And yes, I intentionally skipped over my sodium since I usually do that on the way down, but it is at 1,609. Yeah, so I had a day where I was just craving Jimmy John's. I absolutely wanted Jimmy John's, so I got me a couple of their wraps, and I ended up eating that. Pretty much is what I had all day. Calories aren't horrible on those things at all, but the salt is insane, and I knew that. So I tried to plan the rest of the week accordingly. And, I like to try to stay around that 1,200 milligram mark. And so I was definitely up on that. Sometimes you just got to say, why not? And so that was one of those situations. And it was good. Don't get me wrong. But I did it that one day, and that was it. So I'm grateful I did. But, what did it do for me on the scale? Before we jump into the scale, though, I do want to show you this one single day here. This is just crazy for me. I had about 1,600 calories. It was like 1,590 something, but check this out. Look at that protein amount, 209 grams. I was shocked. Absolutely shocked that I hit that. Yeah, a big part of it was I was craving something sweet, and so I dug into my freezer and found one of my Ninja creamy ice creams sitting in there, right? So I pulled it out, let it sit for a while, and then gave it a spin on the machine, and I ate it, and it is like insanely full of protein. So that really shot me up. Of course, having the extra protein shake as well that day, and then everything else that I had. But 1,600 calories, 209 grams of protein. That's not too shabby if you ask me, honestly, but I don't see myself doing that regularly because, again, I want to get back to a more even style of eating to where I have not only the higher protein, like 100 grams plus, but I get my fiber in as well. And when I'm eating those beans, I've mentioned it many times before, it just doesn't allow me to eat a whole lot of anything else because that is so filling and it lasts for so long. So that's what I think I would rather do. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in an upcoming video, honestly. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And so 209 in one day, I just had to share that with you because that's like an all-time record for me as far as I know, at least since I've been tracking everything, right? 209 in a single day is just insane to me, absolutely insane. But because of that ice cream that night, and I wanted something sweet. I figure, better to do that than to go buy me a Kit Kat bar or something, right? So I had it, and it was good. Yeah, just gotta make more of those. Get them back in the freezer so I could have it for moments like that, right? So, yeah, good stuff though. So what did that do for me on the scale? Well, let's talk about a couple other things first. So tax season is over, and I know I keep saying that that's a big thing for me, man, that, you know, the stress and everything with it. There's been some great comments about how to deal with stress and what it does for your body, and I've even mentioned before too that I've noticed that my clothes are feeling better even if the scale isn't moving that much, but I haven't been sleeping worth a darn. Well, check this out. These are back-to-back nights. First night I slept 9 hours and 16 minutes. The second night, 9 hours and 39 minutes. That is just crazy. Absolutely crazy. I guess my body has been needing it because I didn't even realize I could sleep that long anymore. Because typically for me, when I go to bed, I'll lay there and just watch TV for a long time, or I'll just lay there, you know, and can't sleep. And that's why I like to watch TV, because it helps keep my brain going a little bit and then finally winds me down. Whereas if I'm just laying there in the dark, my brain's like, you know, that kind of thing. And that ain't good either. Those nights were absolutely fantastic just a couple nights ago. Of course, last night sucked. You know, I think I only got about 5.5, but compared to some nights that I've been having, that's spectacular too. So things seem to be getting better, you know, eating a little better, a little more protein, sleeping a little bit better, but the scale, yeah. Even nothing. I lost not a dang thing. Now, I think it's the salt. I really think it was that salt blast, and I'm not worried about it. I really think that's what it is. I can feel it like in my left leg, I think, a little bit, honestly. So not that worried about it at all. We'll see what next week's numbers are. If it's similar, but my salt's down where it should be, and I don't lose anything, then I might get mad. But for now, I'm not too worried about it because, you know, salt in any bit of excess makes me retain fluid. Always has, probably always will, and I understand that. And, you know, I probably shouldn't have had those Jimmy John's wraps, but they were good. It was worth it, and so I did. And, you know, that's just how it is. At least I'm not going up on the scale, right? Like I did a few weeks ago, even though, I mean, what, I didn't eat enough, maybe I ate too much, I don't know. At least I didn't go up this week, and I'm kind of thankful for that. And I think a big reason is I'm betting I probably lost the fat, but retained the fluid, so it just kind of, you know, equaled out there. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker on that, I don't know. But I'm feeling okay about it because I'm feeling okay. I feel like, you know, with everything that's been going on, all the stress, everything that I've been dealing with, I feel like I'm doing okay right now. So I'm really kind of excited about that. And I'm hoping that this is just the path forward. You know, we got the stress of the 5K. Again, 1 week from right now, that'll be over with as of the recording of this. And so, I don't know. That shouldn't really be stressing me other than the unknown, I guess. You know, that really should not stress me at all. I am worried about walking that distance at once, but I'm going to have 3 other people with me that I know are going to keep me going. And I know that I'll hear your guys' comments in my head that, you know, telling me that I got this and I can do it. And I'm going to be looking forward to putting that video together to show you that I did. And so there's a lot of motivation, not only from the 3 that will be with me physically, but from every one of you that I know is rooting me on. And once we get through that, though, I think it's even going to get even better. And then, of course, if I do any other 5K, I'll kind of know what to expect at that point, so I won't have those stress levels. But I feel, especially compared to a couple weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago especially, I feel much better. I mean, much better. And that to me is a victory, because it was I was going through some pretty dark times there. I just didn't feel myself at all. I don't know if it reflected in the videos here, but I just didn't feel, I don't know, I didn't feel like Ken. And that kind of bugged me. And I know I put a lot of pressure on myself doing a lot of things, you know, between the 2 channels, between this 5K, between working 2 to 3 jobs, those kind of things. But that's always how it's been. And now things are kind of leveling off a little bit. And I think I'm going to get back to where I was. I know, like I said, I've got the 5K coming up this coming weekend as of when you watch this. And then The following week, we're going to Texas. And then, like I mentioned in last week's video, I'll be home for about a month and a half before I do anything. And that's just going up to Tulsa for the weekend. I know for that trip, for Tulsa, I can do like I've done before. I'll just make me some of my pizzas and I'll take those with me, take some of my homemade sausages, those kind of things. And then I'll allow myself at least once to go out to a restaurant somewhere and get something. More than likely to Mother Road Market and get that same thing that I love getting. The vegetarian, it might even be vegan, but at least a vegetarian chicken cheesesteak, right? Love that thing. Way too much salt, but I love that thing. And I'll be doing plenty of walking up there. I deserve it. I will prepare, though, for most meals and be ready. And I'll take protein shakes with me for breakfast, and I'll take beans with me to have as well. Take some of the cans of the Walmart ones, and then pizzas and sausages, stuff like that, because I'll be up there for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll be up there for 3 nights. So I'll take what I need to be ready for it. Looking forward to that, but I am just rambling as always. I'm going to go ahead and end this video right here. Thank you so much for coming by and watching it. If you haven't already, if you give it a thumbs up, drop me a comment down below. Next video will be about the 5K. And so be looking for it. Can't wait. All right. Thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.